Welcome to the Educating Mindfully Learncast, where we support mental health and well-being in education through mindfulness-based learning. Our Learncast is like a podcast, but with connected, reflective learning in our online community, which also has the opportunity for educators to earn professional development hours. This Learncast is a special experience for mindful educators and leaders to personally grow their practices within and beyond education as mindful global citizens. Before we begin, we invite you to pause where you are for an invitational intention. Perhaps placing your hands on your heart. And together we will take 4 collective breaths, 1 breath for each ripple within our framework's educational ecosystem. Breathing in first for ourselves, and exhale. Next, breathing in for our staff, and exhale. Then breathing in for our students, and exhale. And breathing in for society as a whole, including families and communities. And exhale. Consider pausing and committing to yourself a collective intention by saying, I am a mindful global citizen. We look forward to learning with you as we continue educating mindfully together. My name is Lindsey Frank, and on behalf of our leadership team, we thank you for being you. Our episodes are supported by our mindful partners. Consider becoming a mindful partner today to be featured on an upcoming Learncast episode. Learn more at educatingmindfully.org/partners. Welcome to the next episode of the Educating Mindfully Learncast titled The Power of R.E.S.T, R for Resilience, E for Emotional Wellness, and S-T for Sustainable Teaching. I am Lindsey Frank, the Educating Mindfully President, Director, and the host for today's episode. And I'm here with Stephanie Letourneau. Welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you, Lindsey. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, we're happy to have you here with us. So Stephanie is a veteran teacher with over 20 years of experience in the Methuen public schools. And she's also an adjunct professor at Merrimack College. She holds master's degrees in reading and also in social emotional learning, yoga, and mindfulness through Breathe for Change, which always giving a shout out there. I'm a fellow graduate, not of their master's program, but of their program. And for our listeners, Breathe for Change is a wonderful resource to connect with. We'll put information in the show notes for that. As a creator of the R.E.S.T framework, and again, R.E.S.T standing for, as we shared, but we're going to say it a few times here, resiliency, emotional wellness, and sustainable teaching. She leads research-based workshops and graduate courses that promote educator well-being. A frequent conference presenter, and she advocates for mindfulness and brain-based wellness in schools. Her forthcoming book, which is really exciting, The Educator's Guide to R.E.S.T, will be published by Routledge in February of 2026. She is certified in SEL, mindfulness, yoga, and brain longevity. It is amazing to share this space with you, Stephanie. Welcome again.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
It's amazing. So as we begin, I do want to share with our mindful community about today's focus within Educating Mindfully's mindfulness-based learning framework. So for those who are new to mindfulness-based learning, our framework itself looks like an ecosystem. So we invite you to visit our website at educatingmindfully.org/framework framework so that you can see a visual. And within the ecosystem, there are 4 raindrops, and those raindrops represent the 4 essential practices that nourish the entire education ecosystem. And one of those practices is our focus today, and that is well-being practices. So, to be clear, so all of us are together on the same page, we are defining well-being practices as practices that are supportive in cultivating healthy, regulated environments that nurture mental health and well-being. These practices are present within all aspects of the ecosystem and are personally embodied. So that means we're starting with ourselves, and then it ripples out to our staff, our students, and society. So within that framework, you'll see the ripples there. And so within society, that also includes our families and communities, and that goes beyond education as well. So just sharing an invitation here to pause and notice, even during your day today, what well-being practices were in place or are in place, depending on when you're listening to this. What practices were supportive, or perhaps even acknowledging if maybe there were no practices to your awareness today. And then how could integrating well-being practices be supportive within and beyond the classroom? And that brings us to our intention for today, where we get to hear from Stephanie about these powerful practices that you can begin to integrate. And, perhaps even in this moment, taking that collective breath in as a community to connect us, and that collective breath out to nourish us and each other. And I'm so excited for what Stephanie has to share with our listeners today. So, Stephanie, are you ready?
I am ready.
All right. So, when exploring well-being practices, it really pulls in that layer of self-care. And for some of you listening right now, if you are feeling that word surfacing, that eye roll from overusage, stay with us here. So, Stephanie, how would you define self-care? And can you share what that looks like in real life for teachers and leaders?
Sure. First, I want to thank you for acknowledging that self-care is extremely complex, because we hear it all the time from administrators. We hear it in professional development presentations, and we give the eye rolls too. As a fellow educator, hearing it over and over again does get frustrating, because sometimes we feel like they're trying to tell us to do some yoga, when really we need some systemic change. The problems that we have in education aren't cured through bubble baths and scented candles, right? I do believe in the power of yoga and breath work. I am a yoga instructor, but acknowledging the fact that, yes, there are issues out there that are real and big, but we're focusing on ourselves and what we can do, because we cannot control those things that are really the pressing issues in education. What we can control is how we react to those things and how we process those things. And for me, self-care it's more than just an act. It's creating a life that honors your own self, your own body, and your own mind, because self-care isn't a break from the work. Self-care is what keeps you going in the work, and it allows you to arrive, be fully present, and be ready to serve your classes, your community, whoever it is that you're teaching.
Yeah, the biggest thing there, wow, that self-care is systemic change. That is powerful, right? So thank you for bringing that, because so often that surface level, there are nice actions that can happen and they maybe can help the climate. But if we want that systemic change, that's when we get this opportunity for truly caring for ourselves. So thank you for defining that in a way that really resonates and keeps us going in the work that we do and the mission that we do.
Mhm.
And so with that, you often advocate that self-care is not selfish, but that it is like strategic sustainability. Can you share more about that?
So, yeah, my self-care framework consists of 8 different topics, and I'm sure we could add lots more of them, but there's these 8 topics. And when you are able to attend to all of these factors of self-care, you're able to sustain yourself in a way that still allows for enjoyment in your job. This goes so much beyond just teaching and education. This is a way of life. This is not and it's not a life preserver or a life raft. It's not something you do like, oh my gosh, um, I'm so stressed out. I must do self care today. The way that I talk about self care is as your life. These are parts of your life that you really should be maintaining in order to get the most benefit of emotional wellness, energy, joy, all of the things that feel good, right? I mean, we still have plenty of things that cause us frustration. But when you're developing these ideas, you're able to navigate it a little bit better. Um, it's you have to. I say that it's a strategic because you have to plan for it. You can't just you know. It's not like oh today I'm going to do self care.
Right.
It's a way of life, right? And you have to plan it. And, I even use a self care tracker, which we can talk about later. But it is important to plan and to know how it is you're actually showing up for yourself, how you're taking care of yourself, and all of the different factors.
Hmm. Well, and it's also reminding me of within our ecosystem and our framework where we specifically name embodiment and how embodiment is just that way of being, how you share it. It's the way of living. It's not something that we're maybe doing on occasion. It's something that just becomes who we are. And, that's
That's
represent.
exactly right. That's exactly it. You nailed it. I mean, we're not adding to anybody's to-do list here.
Mhm.
What we're trying to do is just offer some suggestions of a way to just live in a way that brings you a little bit more joy,
Mhm.
and a little bit more patience, and in this case, enjoyment and sustainability in your teaching careers.
Yeah. Well, and even within the framework, embodiment is the sun, and that is what sustains the entire ecosystem. And so, not only is it sustaining ourselves, it's sustaining literally everything within our
Absolutely.
system. So, wow, yes, thank you for sharing that. And I feel like that's even a perfect quote to maybe invite people to write down that self-care is not selfish, it's strategic sustainability. Like, especially if a listener right now is feeling that they need to give themselves permission for self-care, that concept that you pull forward, I think is such a beautiful thing even to have written down as a reminder. And that really, I think that inspires the next question here is, how has your own relationship been with self-care and how has it evolved throughout your teaching career, embedding all of this?
So the self-care 8 aspects that I talk about are sleep, nutrition, movement, mindfulness, joy, emotional awareness, time management, and hydration. Did I say hydration twice? I apologize if I did. So
But it's
out of
good to
those,
have a lot of hydration. That's good
yes,
to
you
tell
have to
me.
it's extremely important. And the way that this all started was that I was unhappy in my position. I felt like I wasn't I didn't feel good about my teaching and I didn't know really where to go from there. I love to teach. I love my community, but something just didn't feel right. And I did go to my therapist. Her name is Beth, so maybe she'll listen to this and she'll hear her shout out. Um, we talked about, well, what are you doing to take care of yourself? And she started naming the basics. Hydration. Are you drinking enough water? Are you sleeping? Are you eating well? Are you moving your body? And she also mentioned finding joy every day, which I really can't wait to talk about that. And I felt like it was missing a little bit of a piece there. So I think that understanding your emotions is really big in building resilience. So I added that into the self-care. And for me, what I started off with was sleep. And the reason why I chose sleep is because it affects everything so deeply. Really, you need to have a balance of everything. And if you're lacking one of these aspects, the other ones can get all wonky as well. But sleep is really hard for educators. A lot of times their day is so go, go, go that their only quiet time they have is at night. And then teachers end up using that to plan or grade, or, maybe they are doing something for themselves, but then the hours start creeping up. And before you know it, it's very late at night. So that was my main focus. And actually, what I do for sleep too, for anybody that needs a little tip, there's a lot of information about sleep, but I'm going to give you a little tip here. Your nighttime routine, think of it like a dimmer switch and not a light switch. So when we go to bed, we turn the light off and jump into bed, but our brains don't really work that way. You have to slowly turn the dimmer down, right? So it doesn't feel so harsh. And that is a great little tip. There are lots of other things that we can talk about with sleep. But again, that's just one of 8 things, which is something that I do talk about in the book that's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that my hardest one right now, and has been probably for about a year now, is time management. I struggle with time management because I really love the work that I'm in and everything that I'm doing with it, that I tend to overcommit. So that is something that I've been working on. And actually, a little shout out to Chris Willard here. He was so nice to talk about how to get a book published. And at one point, someone had asked him, well, how do you not overschedule? What's your secret? Like time management wise, you're so busy. And he said so simply, well, I only work 40 hours a week. He has clear boundaries, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have been doing a lot of research over the past couple of months, how to create those boundaries and some strategies for managing all my tasks that I need to do. So I don't know if anyone else out there feels the same way, but
I know
you
I
are
do.
not alone.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it's hard when you are passionate about something and you really love to create.
Because the
Yes,
flow
I
keeps
could.
going. Like that's the thing.
Mhm.
When you love it, that flow keeps going and just following it too. But yeah, the power and that wisdom about boundaries and time, like it's such a golden piece of wisdom here.
It was just, and I'm sure it took him a long time to get to that place too. But I'm like, there it is. There it is. I will say that the easiest ones for me are, well, mindfulness is definitely, I'm fairly mindful in all the things I do, but the emotion awareness, I can be like annoyingly good at this. I will be with somebody and I'll be feeling a certain emotion and I stop and I name it. I'll say, I'm feeling so happy right now, or I'm really grouchy right now. And I say, I will label all my emotions. And if I'm with my safe people, if I'm with my people, I say it out loud. And the reason why I do that is because since our brains are hardwired for all that negative thoughts, and even though sometimes I have those and I name those unpleasant emotions as well, I start to notice that I'm naming some really pleasant emotions as well. So it's not like I start thinking, oh, everything stinks. You're starting to notice the joy more. You're starting to notice the good things more if you start naming them.
Hmm.
So that's one of my favorite things to do. My daughters might feel otherwise about it, but that yes, yes, we're glad you're happy, mom. Yes, yes. I have to name it. I have to say it out loud. It makes it real.
And it gives them that awareness of, okay, now can I have a conversation with mom now or not? Or can I
Yes,
have a
yeah, that's
conversation with my
true.
teacher now or not? Right.
That is
Right. And that
so
modeling.
true. Hmm.
Right. Because that also gives that awareness back. And, there's so many things that are coming up for me right now. And I resonate a lot with your story and feeling that burnout piece and find like all of that. I definitely resonate with what you're sharing. And I'm curious, and this might even be something right now to think about. And I don't remember if it's in your book or not, because I'm very grateful to have had a chance to read it before it has come out. But do you have like a self-assessment of those areas? And for our listeners, could you maybe share those categories one more time more slowly to give just a moment here for people and our listeners to maybe rate themselves if they were on like a scale of 1 to 10, like where would they place themselves just for this moment? Would you mind doing that for a
No,
moment?
absolutely. So sleep, nutrition, mindfulness, joy, emotional awareness, time management, movement, and hydration.
Then just pausing and imagine rating the different areas to give an opportunity here, maybe an invitational action, taking a collective breath in and a collective breath out, if you wish. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think it's really important for us to really integrate and embody all of these options. And you also mentioned this strategic way of having it within the day, and it was reminding me of one of the cards in our educator and leader embodiment cards that is called, I believe it's called morning, afternoon, and evening. And so just really creating like how can you integrate during your day, and maybe these areas that you mentioned here, maybe that's something for our listeners to consider. Maybe it's that same thing that they're doing in the morning, afternoon, and evening. And also, I just want to mention one more resource is in our online learning community, in our mindful community. We have recorded sessions of self-care sessions. So if maybe you rated movement or mindfulness is one of the areas to look into, we have those resources available, and I'll put that link as well. Um, ooh. So, I definitely have some more questions for you. I mean, we could be talking about this for a very, very long time.
I love talking about self-care.
Yes.
It's,
And go ahead,
you
go ahead.
don't have to do, they don't have, we don't need to do everything all at once. This isn't like I'm giving you a plan and now oh no, how do I manage it all? Start small, start with one. I do have trackers available on Amazon for your self-care. And it might look intimidating, but you don't have to do every single one all the time. Focus on either what you think is most important to you at that moment, or maybe focus on something that you think will be easiest. There's no wrong way to start this. It's to notice more about your life so that you are creating a life that you don't feel like you need to like escape.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Creating a life you want to be in. You want to wake up in the morning and start your day.
Yeah. And you also bring up and emphasize quite often that self-care isn't about perfection, but
Right.
it's about balance. And I feel like you kind of pulled in a lot of that right now. But is there anything else that you want to lean in a little bit further on for that balance so that it's not this other to do? Is there anything else there that's coming to mind?
Well, I do think that this is all not new things. I'm not telling you anything, earth shattering. What I do think is that humans need reminders, and they need permission. I think you mentioned permission, um, to take care of themselves, but we need reminders that we're important, and acknowledging that you are worthy of taking care of yourself simply because you're here is very powerful. It makes you want to take better care of yourself in this way. So all of these things that I'm not telling anybody anything they've never heard before. It's reminding you that this is important so that you don't let weeks go by without maybe going for a walk. Um, that's where time management also comes into play, because you need to have good time management skills to fit some of this other stuff in. But to be mindful doesn't take any time out of your day.
Mhm.
It doesn't take any time out of your day to name an emotion. It doesn't take time out of your day um, to label that you're feeling joy. These aren't really extra things. I think that this is just your reminders that you deserve to do this, which is why I like the checklist kind of thing, because if you hadn't found joy yet, you could be like, oh, what's something that sparked joy today? And you can use that as your reminder to do that.
Yeah. I even
Yeah,
put
I
it
just
in my calendar. Like if it's in the calendar, it will happen. So even in my Google Calendar, I'll put like, anytime I'm eating or a check-in or like perhaps what you're mentioning there is joy, like maybe literally putting it in the calendar to check in around joy or cultivate joy and doing something that brings that joy. Yeah.
That's a great idea. Imagine if I don't wear a smartwatch because it would throw me all off with
Same.
distractions. Yeah, but
I
I
know.
know that they have reminders on there like time to move. Imagine if it said time to find joy, or
Mhm.
something to that effect, or time to show gratitude. Wouldn't that be an amazing little addition to a smartwatch? But you could put it in your phone and have it repeat, and how awesome is that? That's a great
Yes.
suggestion.
Yeah, and actually, I in my children's book, one of the practices is around gratitude, and the action is setting a timer throughout the day and it's just random. It goes off actually randomly, and in the classroom. So then, when that goes off, you just pause and just notice, like, for 1 minute or 30 seconds, what are all the things that you're grateful for? And so you could do it in the classroom, beyond the classroom, but just mentioning that too, just how simple, right?
I absolutely love that. My high school students would really love that
Mm-hmm.
too.
Yeah. Well, and we were bringing in balance, and this also reminds me of one of the resources that we have from one of our blogs, on our Voices blog, is Kaylee Thompson, who will be a guest as well on our Learncast. She wrote an article about integration, work-life integration. So sometimes that word balance, when we're talking about having that, it seems like it has to be the same versus when we say integration, well, maybe there's different areas that need our attention that create that integration. So I appreciate that reframe as well, that the balance and integration can have together. Um, yeah,
I
and
really
I'm
do. I
think
do love that word integration.
mm,
Actually, it's it's perfect because this is not anything separate. It's just part of your life, part of your day. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and so I mean that you've shared some of these things, but I'm curious if there's any other small, realistic well-being practices that someone can even start today or this week that, especially if they are feeling burnt out or they are feeling disconnected from their own needs. What are some other examples you have?
Well, I love what you said about gratitude, writing, or at least acknowledging your gratitude. I like the writing of it, but at the very least, when you're laying in bed at night, um, thinking about the things that you're grateful for is an easy one. And it's powerful, right?
Yeah,
You're
I have a
helping your
journal and I write three of them every single night. I cannot go to bed unless I have those three written down. So definitely, I agree with that recommendation.
Yes, it's very powerful. It's easy and
Mhm.
it's powerful. Um, I also want to suggest. I know that we all know to drink water, but something that I've learned is that we should be making water our first drink of the day, not coffee. So while my coffee is brewing, I'll now have a glass of water. And that is something that I didn't know before, and that's something that was really easy to implement. I would also suggest just taking little micro breaks throughout the day. 30 seconds, putting your phone down and breathing. That can also have a good effect. But I think that those are some good places to start.
Yeah. Well, and we can even extend this now to the ripples, right? Like we're talking mainly about ourselves as educators, but the self-care and developing that as a skill within our students and our staff and our society, all of what we're sharing here can all be connected to all of the ripples. I'm thinking like, for example, if a teacher is using a digital resource, for example, like Seesaw, and connecting with families, that they can share about these practices and invite them to share about it at home. How can they integrate? We've been talking about gratitude, but maybe they can integrate then that timer at home. So all of these things still apply to all of the ripples, but we really want to be embodying for ourselves first. Something else that came up while you were talking is as we're integrating throughout the day, that I would put in like slides when I was teaching, and they were specific transition slides, especially one of the, I love butterflies. Many of the listeners might know that I'm a little obsessed with butterflies. But and the power that they have in the symbolism. However, I would have a slide of a moving butterfly wings so that it was of the breath. So, or if breath is not a safe place for everybody, then it was just like a tracing of it, or they just some kind of rhythm for students and myself to naturally pause throughout the day. And I literally put them in throughout every transition. So even during a transition, if students transitioned quickly, they would still know, oh, okay, now my next step is to look at that screen and just see and follow along. This also works for staff. If we have staff meetings, we can put in, different things as reminders along the way. So I just wanted to name that here, that all of what we're sharing does ripple out and to be advocated for across all of the settings that we serve. Yeah.
Lindsay, you're making me think of something. I was talking to a colleague recently, and we were talking about behaviors in the classroom. And it's no coincidence that you're saying that will say that the class was out of control on their worst days, right? Because if you show up and you're in a negative mood, maybe, or maybe you have a headache, or you're not fully present, that's a ripple effect. Just like the opposite is true. So, when you think about the days that you're really difficult with your students, think about how you showed up first, because being the person in charge, even though, we don't like to say that and like I'm in charge, but their students are looking at you, you're in
Space
charge.
keeper. We are the people. We are the space keeper and that nurture of the space.
I like that. I like that
Mm-hmm.
description. They're looking to us though, like, how should I feel right now? And if we're dysregulated or we're not well, subconsciously, neither are they pick up on that and they start to feed off that energy. So we do have some power there, whether we like to acknowledge it or not. The kids aren't just having a bad day. It's a combination.
Yeah. I always share about mirrors and reflections, and you bring that up, and we had a conversation, a really nice conversation with another LearnCast guest as well, Matt Weld's LearnCast. If you're interested to explore that one too. But in the framework, the center where the ripples are, it's water for a reason, because water reflects, it's reflecting within and beyond that environment. So that's why environment's also very important. So part of self-care is caring for the environment that you are in so that it is nurturing you. And then all of those ripples all reflect. So the reminder here about behavior, I think a beautiful question that you're sharing and bringing up is when we're noticing our students are having moments,
Mm-hmm.
to maybe have that as a question of how is my own nervous system in this moment? And am I caring for myself? And how am I responding in these moments so that I can continue to care for myself? Um, and I don't know, do you have recommendations, or when that has happened for you, do you have a particular practice in the moment that you do to kind of make that regulation happen?
Yes, I do. Actually, I do a lot of squeeze and release with my fists, and um, if I'm standing, I will squeeze and release my body, and I'll hold it real, real, real tight, and then I'll let it go. And I'll do that a few times. They don't usually notice. And I have high school students. If I taught, when I taught the younger kids, I'm sure, I know that they noticed, because one time I was standing there and it was getting a little out of control. And I started to squeeze and release my fists and take a deep breath. And I had a third grader say, shh, she's breathing. Like, she knew that I needed my moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that they notice it. But the high school students, maybe they don't say that out loud, but I'm hoping that they pick up on my regulation after, I've had a moment, because those still happen. They sure still happen. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that is the importance of self-care, because we need to care for ourselves in those moments because they do happen.
Hmm.
Sometimes they happen frequently. And we are also teaching and leading at a time where there's so many external things happening that then cause dysregulation, whether we feel it or not. So we have to continuously come back and check in. I call this check in with our heart. But just checking in with our heart of, okay, am I present? What messages is my body giving me right now? And what can I do to continue to care for myself? Um, for me, I always find myself, especially in meetings. So I was in one of my roles, I was a special education teacher. And so I was in meetings, especially our IEP meetings, very often. So I would definitely, if I noticed that I needed to take care of myself, I would first check, are both of my feet on the ground? And then literally make a change. Or if they both were on the ground, I would just like shift a little bit. So I'm intentionally changing the moment and like reclaiming that moment. We talked about power. It kind of is like reclaiming your own inner power from within and that confidence from within. And then I would like press my feet into the ground. And I also would just place my hands on my abdomen so that I can, one, have that regulation space of just like that body connection from hand to body. And then also just having that breath come into the body. So it just reminded me to be there. Or I would do one of the recommendations we shared earlier, but have something that was a supportive affirmation or something that would be in those meetings, especially, or when I'm responding to behavior, whether as a district coach for our climate as well, or a special educator, right? I share this practice often, but I'm going to share it again. But when I would have to respond, I would be synchronizing my steps, breathing when I approached the classroom so that I already had several breaths and refreshed for my thinking and processing before even opening up the door if I'm responding to crisis or whatnot. I would make sure that I'm fully ready and caring for myself in those moments where our students need care. And same thing with staff. If you have a meeting, like it's the same thing, or with families. So Thanks for letting me share that.
No, it's absolutely beautiful. It's similar. I use doors as a moment of mindfulness. So when you were talking about the door, of course, a little bit different when you know you're heading into crisis, right?
Mhm.
I like that you're preparing yourself, but even just any general moment that you're acknowledging that you're switching environments. So opening that door, taking the breath, and acknowledging you're in a different place. That's a little moment of mindfulness, and it's you know it helps you shift whatever it is that is expected at that time. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Wow. Whew. We have, other, is there any other inspirations that are coming to you? I know, like, we can go in a couple other avenues for our time, but I just want to check in if there's any other inspirations that are coming up. I know, like, we talked a bit about sleep, but we can always talk a little bit more about that if that is an area we want to like connect with, or more embedded spaces. But what's coming up for you to kind of see where we want to take our conversation, or
Well,
feeling complete too?
yes, this has been a wonderful conversation, and I do have so much about sleep. But you know what I was thinking? Maybe the listeners would want to know that there's more than just um, tired, like you need to go to sleep tired. There are other types of tired.
Hmm.
If they can identify what type of tired they are, they might be able to care for themselves better and give themselves what they need in order to feel better. Um,
Yeah, can you share more about that? Like, what are those different types of tiredness that you're kind of mentioning?
well, physical tired is all the obvious, right? But
Mm.
sensory fatigue is real, and I experience it a lot. I'm sure other people are with me on this. Sometimes I can't be in a teacher's room. I can't listen to a lot of conversations at once. I just bought myself a pair of the earplugs where you can still hear the conversation, but it you know drowns out the background noise. Noise is a big one for me.
Hmm.
So when you're feeling overwhelmed with sensory things, what can you do? And you know, there are a lot of different things you can do. For example, when I feel sensory issues, I remove myself if possible, but also I try to look outside. I look out a window. That tends to help. Another type of thing that you could do would be um, oh, why did I just had a brain freeze.
Well, that
Read,
sometimes that happens too, right? Like when the sensory's there. And I think
yes,
I think that's like a perfect embodiment too of like all of the
that
different things. So like even in this moment, like maybe we're looking out that window, or that is
yes,
that
yes.
breath, or that is like for me, I have like my rock, like my focus rock. Like I'm
Oh,
literally holding it.
actually,
I'm not like anybody can see this right now except you and I, but I'm holding my rock and I have it here.
I'm
Um
so glad because that's actually one of the things is about nature. So
mhm.
you just helped me remember one of my things that I do with sensory overload or sensory tiredness is definitely be in nature. But if you can't be there, at least look out the window
Yeah.
um, and unplug for a little bit. Unplug. A lot of the sensory stuff is, if you think about it, could be because maybe we're checking our email on our laptop while our phone is with us, and maybe you have YouTube on the television. There's too many things going on at once.
I mean,
So
okay, all right,
definitely,
all right, hold on. Let's for our listeners right now, notice what's happening right now. Notice if you're just listening to the LearnCast episode, or even just noticing right now what else is around within that sensory. Like, for example, right now I'm in my office, but there is a busy street that's next to me. So that is happening. I mean, I don't have a radio, or most people don't listen to radios right now. That's so funny. I
I
don't
still
have
do.
my music, my Spotify, or my TV on. But just notice right now, are you driving? Is there somebody else by you? And just Take it all in for a moment. And then see if there's anything to consciously choose that caring for yourself right now for focus and being. Yeah, right. I mean, all of this, everything's always embodied. And I feel like you also talk about like that fatigue, that tiredness, not only for the sensory or physical, but there's also that mental piece, that emotional piece, that social piece. And you even talk about
Absolutely.
creative like
Yep.
fatigue. Like,
The creative fatigue. Yes, all of those are real things. And sometimes I think when we get tired, if you're not used to identifying it in that way, you might not be getting what you need. So it's powerful, like naming your emotions. That's a powerful tool. So is naming your tiredness, naming your fatigue.
mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm, that's powerful. Wait, let's say that again here. What is also very important to name?
Naming your emotions and naming your tiredness.
Yes. And I think that as educators and leaders, we like to ignore the sense of being tired. And we always have on this go, 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 I'm going to do it all. And I, regardless of paying attention, tuning inward to that tiredness, because we are tasked with the impossible to try to make it possible and to even acknowledge right now that it's okay to be tired and it's okay. Yeah. Yes,
You're
Stephanie, go
you're
ahead.
you're making me think about how not we're almost rewarded for being exhausted because
Right.
that's the only way to get a little recognition, right? Is that you've went above and beyond and you did so much. And or you might even be like saying, "Oh yeah, I'm tired. I graded papers too late last night." And then another person might say, "Oh yeah, well I graded papers and I went to the football game." Like it's this
Right.
competition that I don't want to win.
Right.
I don't want to
We
win
don't
that
need to win
competition.
this. Yeah.
And you said it's okay to
Um,
be tired. It also reminds me of Kristen Neff saying it's okay to be average. We
hmm,
don't have to excel at everything. Why can't we be average at some of these things? We don't need to always stretch ourselves to the point where we're feeling overwhelmed or exhausted or feel like we need to change careers, which I know many listeners are likely thinking that as well.
mhm.
We can be average at so many things, and that's totally okay. Because if
Yes.
everybody was above average, it's just pushing the it's just pushing the bar up and up and up. We
Right.
don't
And
need to
well,
do that to
okay,
ourselves.
now here I'm going to probably make some people upset for a moment here, but you have to think about this. Even within our evaluation system, no matter how much you're going to push yourself, you might be able to visit some of those distinguished areas, but no matter what, there still is that proficiency. And the proficiency is normally where many people get. So even when we're doing so much, to still have that as like this scale of who of like value. It's not.
100%.
We create our value. We care for ourselves. We have the opportunity here today, this moment,
Mm-hmm.
literally, to shift our own narrative about ourselves and to really engage in these well-being practices, and that is why it's so essential a part of the ecosystem that we're creating. So whew.
Mm-hmm. My goodness, you and I could talk for hours, let me tell you.
Oh my gosh. Well, so that we don't exhaust ourselves in tiredness, like I think this is a good place to invite a little bit of that pause. And I do want to not also leave on some of those final thoughts about tiredness. However, what's coming to me is just moving back into that space of gratitude and how simple that is. And for our listeners right now to even just take about two breaths, if the breath is okay in this moment, and just identify right now two things of gratitude for yourself, and then two things of gratitude for either your students or staff, whatever role you're in, or even the families. So just give now gratitude from yourself into others. and offering that compassion and understanding and empathy into all of the ripples that we do. And I think what would be great is like, if you, Stephanie, could leave educators with like one reminder about rest and resilience, what would it be that you'd give educators and leaders?
I, if I had one piece of advice, it would be that rest is not a reward. It doesn't need to be earned. It's a necessity. So rest, reset, and rise.
Mm-hmm. Let's take that as our call to action too. Yes. Are there any other resources that you would like to recommend for educators and leaders to get started? Do you want to share anything else? We know, so your book is titled, would you like to share a little bit further about your book?
Yes, The Educator's Guide to Rest. That's going to be published in February. I would love for people to check that out. It's great for professional learning communities and professional development. I'm actually going to be using it with a professional learning community at Merrimack College, which is where I really started this whole program.
Mhm.
I also would love it if people had any questions, if they sent me an email at mindfulteacherstephanie@gmail.com. But in addition to that, I do have the self-care tracker. That and my book will both be available on Amazon. But I do love communicating. If you find me on LinkedIn, or you communicate with me via email, I am all for spreading the word, spreading the message, and sharing all of the good information that I have. I'm happy to share what I've got and spread the word.
Yeah, and for our listeners too. So Stephanie is one of our Educating Mindfully members. So she is also available within our community, and throughout the month, she'll be sharing those reflection questions for our learning to continue this conversation. So we encourage you to connect and build that relationship and get resources and support. And also, Stephanie is going to be our featured blogger for this month. And also, there'll be a companion lesson inspiration so you can continue to connect with Stephanie and her work. I think I'll just share a couple more pieces as we begin to close. So, for our members, we'll continue this conversation as I shared in our member online community. And though each week of this month, we'll post that reflection question as I just shared. And so, by sharing your own insights and responding to what appears, you can earn professional development hours. So, you can learn more about that at educatingmindfully.org/learncast. And as we shared, we will also release that Companion Voices blog and the mindfulness-based learning lesson inspiration to support you as you begin to integrate well-being practices into your teaching and leading. And we invite you to pause for a moment again here and commit to one action you can take to extend this experience into your life within and beyond the classroom. Whether pausing the learn cast to write it down or just letting it be within the heart space. And then coming back here with that charge and passion in the heart. Thank you again, Stephanie, for joining us and sharing all about this and for self-care and all of the well-being practices today. It really was amazing to connect with you.
You as well. I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
We hope this episode inspires you to take action as a mindful leader and educator. As we close, we invite you to pause where you are for an invitational breathing practice. Maybe placing one hand at your heart and/or one hand on your stomach, and together we will take 4 collective breaths, integrating our learning, 1 breath for each ripple within our framework's educational ecosystem. First and foremost, breathing for ourselves. Inhale. Exhale. Next, breathing in for our staff. Inhale. Exhale. Third, breathing in for our students. Inhale. Sipping a little bit more air for our students. Exhale. And finally, breathing in for our worldwide community. Take the biggest inhale yet. Exhale. Consider pausing and committing a collective intention together by saying, we are mindful global citizens. We invite you to continue this conversation with us and our member online community. Learn more about our nonprofit's LearnCast membership and our mindfulness-based learning micro-credential program at www.educatingmindfully.org. My name is Dee DuBose, and on behalf of our leadership team, we thank you for learning with us as we collectively do our parts to make schools and Mother Earth better than we found it. Have a great day on purpose. Peace.